I have just returned from the most amazing mind-altering event, encouraging everyone to think bigger in terms of sustainability and business. Mind-altering because that's what people who were there told me. So, what is best practice when it comes to eco-resorts? And how can hosts who have hundreds of ideas when it comes to crafting low-impact experiences, how can they sense check their ideas? Welcome to episode 49.
Glamping and unique holiday rentals are surging in popularity with the growing desire of customers to book holidays that deliver an experience. They are also the new business of choice for those wanting to improve their work-life balance. So how do you build a strong business like this that gives you the life you need and a great investment? I'm Sarah Riley, and I want to share what I've discovered after being immersed in this industry for over 20 years to inspire you to find out more about what's going on. Welcome, this is the business of glamping and unique holiday rentals.
I have just returned from the Eco Resort Network in Slovenia next to the beautiful Lake Bled. This is an event that's organised by Jay Mendez, Maya Dimnik and Steph Curtis Raleigh, who are three very unique individuals who have been involved in the world of glamping, eco-resorts and everything amazing in the world of hospitality and unique accommodation for many years. So Steph, who is the publisher of International Glamping Business Magazine, joins me today to talk about everything to do with the network and some of the most amazing experiences we had, some of the most memorable experiences, but also about how she aims for their event to challenge us to push more when it comes to providing low impact travel options for the conscious traveller. So I shall head over to the interview now. Steph, so fantastic to have you on the podcast and really excited to talk to you about the Eco Resort Network because we've just literally come back. I feel that I've only just touched down from it. It was a fantastic network and we'll talk about that in a minute. But for anyone who doesn't really understand the sense of what an eco resort is, can you explain a little bit more about that and kind of your definition and how you see it and how your partner kind of organisers, co-organisers see it as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I see an eco resort as being something that shares its DNA with glamping, but isn't necessarily an alternative structure such as a tent or a cabin or a tree house. I think it can be any type of hospitality offering that has a sustainable ethos and has a sort of experiential aspect to it. So I think people know if they are an eco resort in a way, and it doesn't really matter what the accommodation is constructed from.
So does there have to be a kind of a direct line from the accommodation and the experience to nature? Is that something as well that is incorporated?
Yes, I think so. So I think agritourism that we see in places like Italy and Spain, Portugal, for example, they're the precursors to all of this. They are hotels that offer homegrown or home cultivated products. They are very much steeped in the traditions of their surroundings, part of their communities. They're really places that have got a very strong sense of place.
And in the whole experience, do you think it's important that there is an element of sustainability and environmental awareness and protection in everything that the accommodation provider is offering to the guest? Is that something that's really important with eco resorts?
Yes, I think it is. I think it's it's really the writing that runs through the rock, really, of what they do. So it's in everything. I think it's a way of thinking about future generations as well as honouring traditions. So it's about looking at sustainability, not just as what you do with your recycling or the practical aspects, because some of the things such as solar or water treatment or whatever, it could be financially beyond the realm for some operators. It's more about honouring the right way of doing things, not taking the fast way or the disposable way, but looking long term and being authentic, really, in the way you do business, and looking after the people that live around you, the people that work for you, and of course looking after the guests as well. That's all part of it. It's a more conscious way of doing business, really. It's not just about the price per night and filling rooms. It's about being more aware of your responsibilities as a business owner and a hospitality provider.
And it links very much more towards the conscious traveller who is looking for a stay where they feel comfortable that not only are they enjoying comfort and luxury and wonderful experiences, but they also aren't damaging their environment as much as maybe another type of stay. So people are making these conscious decisions. And I think very much in line with regenerative travel, isn't it? So can you explain that term? Because I know a lot of people haven't really heard that either.
It's a really great term because it means more than just sustaining, which is to keep something going. To regenerate is to renew and to refresh in a way. So it's often used in the same way as sustainable travel, but it's a little bit more ambitious because it looks to make things better than the way you left them. So if you take an eco resort or a hotel, a nature hotel, and you're looking after the land around it, and you're also employing people from the local community, you're bringing business to the area, then you're regenerating. You're not just sustaining what you have.
And I love that as well. It's that you're taking something, but you're giving back more. Therefore, we're in a positive kind of credit situation rather than a negative situation. So the Eco Resort Network, having now I've attended a lot of your online events, which have been brilliant, and even presented at a few of them. But having attended the one in Slovenia, I would have to say, because I always love to really chat to everyone who's there, ask them why they came, what they've got from it, and all that kind of thing. Because I think it's really important to kind of keep your finger on the pulse of what people are experiencing and what they're learning and how they're growing and developing and everything else. And one of the people who attended, one of the businesses who attended, they said something really interesting, which I thought was, it really kind of highlighted to me that it was a mind-altering event. And the reason that I say this is because that person came to the event and they said, you know what, I actually thought I was a big fish and I had all these big ideas, and I've come here and I've realized that actually I was thinking so much smaller than I should have been thinking, and I can think so much bigger and I can become so much more. And they left the event feeling really motivated, really inspired, and literally their mind had rewired, their brain had rewired itself. They could see things beyond what they had been seeing things before they attended. And I would have to agree, I think very much so. And it wasn't just one person, there were numerous people who talked in those terms. And so was that kind of the aim for you, the event? Was that what you were hoping for?
Well, when you talk to a bunch of really inspiring people, then you think, oh, if only that person knew that person, or I could introduce that person, or I could share what great, exciting thoughts or philosophies that person's got more widely. So I think that when you say think bigger, I know exactly what you mean, but it doesn't necessarily mean what people who are listening might think. Yes, of course, there were some people there that had quite amazing resorts in amazing locations. Playa Viva in Mexico, Gangtree Lodge in Bhutan, for example. I mean, but not everybody's in that position to operate sites like that. And I think that the way of thinking bigger is sort of thinking differently about why you're doing things and how you're doing them. So when we run our businesses, we tend to get mired in the detail and the small but necessary tasks that we have to carry out, whether they're VAT returns or God knows what, changing the printer cartridge, but it's not often that we get a chance to really sit down and talk to other people doing something similar to us and say, why are we doing this? And how can we make a difference to people and the world whilst we're doing something that we already enjoy? So, and I think that that's really a great luxury. And also, I think that when we talk about luxury, when we talk about luxury, I think that is crucial. That has changed as well. We're not talking about fast cars and flashy places and marble and gold, and we're talking about luxury these days as being a chance to experience something that we don't get the opportunity to do every day. And that's what these hospitality providers are doing very successfully. They're giving people an experience they wouldn't normally get. But also that's partly what the event did, because it gave us all the luxury of talking about things we're really interested in with a bunch of like-minded people, and not boring our partners and friends about it, but actually just having the luxury of talking about everything, whether it be water treatment or how we can treat our staff better or recruit people or whatever it was. It was 2 days of meeting fabulous people.
Absolutely, and seeing fabulous things as well. And this for me was really amazing, to be taken out of my normal environment, going somewhere completely different that I didn't have on my radar as somewhere I wanted to visit in the next few years. Maybe something I would do when I'm a bit older. But Lake Bled in Slovenia is just stunning. Can't quite believe how stunning it is, and why didn't I want to go there sooner? It's amazing. I recommend wholeheartedly to anybody, go to Slovenia. Lake Bled, amazing. But it was that opportunity to see things and to be let into doors that you wouldn't normally be let in. So to actually go into Garden Village Bled, the glamping resort there near Lake Bled, and to have the opportunity to experience and understand everything that it takes to run a resort like that, and to that whole world, swimming, the natural pool. If anyone wants to have a look at that, the pictures of what we're talking about, go to my Instagram account, which is at inspired_camping, and you can see the pictures of this amazing natural pool. I've had so many comments on that from people saying this is astounding, that it's a natural pool, it looks so beautiful. But then to have a tour of the place, to see the kitchen garden, to experience the restaurant with the water running through it and the grass top tables, and the different variety of structures. And one of the things that really stood out to me and a few others, I think it might even have been you, Steph, who highlighted it, was about the sound of the water going through past the tents to help to give a white noise, a background noise, so that people couldn't hear each other in each other's tents, give a bit more of a level of privacy. But we would not have experienced that had we not come to your event. So is this something you wanted to do, to kind of create these unique experiences?
Completely. I mean, I do realise that there is a slight hypocrisy in getting people to maybe fly in from different parts of the world when we're talking about sustainability, but we are in the travel business. And so I think we can be forgiven a little bit on that front. We wanted to keep the event small, under 50 people, because of the fact that I think these days everybody wants to just network in smaller groups and be in smaller groups. And that way it also meant we were easier able to get around and go to places we couldn't have obviously descended on a glamping site in the height of season with 300 people, for example. But we were able to wander around Garden Village, which was a real privilege. And to see, for me, the moment was, I think I was walking with you when the family with several young children emerged from their tent and went and actually did go swimming in the pool. But the excitement and to see them skipping around and everything, and it was like an advert for the glamping site, just to see these kids having such a great time, and how relaxed it all was. But I think yes, we wanted to tether the event to a glamping or eco resort, so that people could have a little look under the covers and see how other people do it, because perhaps people don't often get the chance to do that themselves because they're very busy with their own businesses. So that was lovely, really lovely, and that's something that we aim to continue with future events, because I think it really makes it stand out. And there was somebody on the trip who's actually, I think, one of your people, Sarah, who said that the way that they learn is not, they're not very good at sort of book learning, and they've always found it difficult to retain information and this sort of thing. So I feel a practical element to this. I mean, conversation was great, but also to be able to go and look at something and think, oh, that's an idea I'll take back with me. I think that's really positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And as humans, we learn so much more when all of our senses are engaged, touch, see, smell, all of those things. And so to actually go to a site, to actually touch the fabric, to see how they are doing a certain thing, how they're overcoming a problem, and then to talk about it with others and really discuss how it maybe applies to our own situation when we go home. So that for me very much was a great learning experience. And I think as well, because we had Maya Dimnik there, who is your co-organizer, who works with you on the Eco Resort Network. And she very much was involved in the setup stage of Garden Village Bled. And she had a long conversation at the event with everyone and answered lots of questions about the details and what was involved in setting it up, what worked well and what didn't work quite so well. And that in itself was just incredible, to be allowed to look behind the curtain and to understand what it really takes to set up something like that.
Yes. I mean, she set up several, or helped to launch several sites in Slovenia. And Slovenia, for such a small country, has more than its fair share of really top level glamping sites, which is, I think, as a result, there's just a lot of talent there. The Glampo guys were at the event. They have designed many of these. They're architects that have designed many of these sites. So if any of the listeners are interested, the first one we mentioned is Garden Village in Bled, but there's also Chateau Ramshack, which Maya's worked on, Herbal Village, which I think she's worked on as well. I mean, she's she's an incredibly talented person.
Absolutely. And talking another talented person who also helped you organize the event was Jay, who I think he likened himself at the time as kind of the resident DJ, because he was sitting there juggling a million things and doing so many different sides of the tech side of the event.
Jay is a wonderful partner in crime he's a digital nomad. You know, he literally he lives what he believes in. He came by train, by bus, by every method possible, from Spain, where he's currently living with his partner. He did all the tech, and it was rather an ambitious undertaking because we ran a hybrid event at the same time. So we ran an online digital event at the same time, involving some live streaming of what was going on during the 2 days. We had some technical hiccups, but I mean, considering that Jay managed that all on his own, filming and making sure that their live event, that things were happening at the right time and people could hear. It was a massive, and he stayed so calm. He called himself DJ Mendes on the day.
I would have to say, I don't think I could be as calm as he was. He was just incredibly calm. It was infectious, and it's amazing.
You need somebody like that. You don't want somebody who's going to
panic. Absolutely. So what was your best thing from your perspective about the event?
I think that the most exciting thing for me was the first night when everybody was arriving. It was a little bit like, what shall I say? It's a bit like reality TV or something like Big Brother House, or you didn't know who was going to walk in through the door next. And there were a couple of people who I wasn't even sure that they were coming or not. They'd expressed an interest and they said, yes. And I thought, I'm not sure they're going to turn up. And they did. But also, you know, having only just dealt with people via email, I had their profile pictures, but sometimes profile pictures don't tell the whole story about what people are really like in the flesh. So I think that is the difference, isn't it? That's the big difference. I mean, I'd never even met Jay before in real life. We'd done 2 years worth of events together, but because of the pandemic, we'd never actually met in person before. And he was quite different from how I was expecting, even though I've seen him on screen a million times. So I think there is a sort of another aspect of meeting people when you meet them in the flesh. And that was really apparent to me. And that first night, and the sun shone. It hadn't been great weather. The sun shone onto the lake, and we had some drinks there, and people arrived and they met each other. And at that point, not many people knew one another. So we were really, really necessary to make those introductions and to get people talking. But by the end of the event, on the last morning when everybody was leaving, they'd all bonded to such an extent. They were like bear hugs and swapping telephone numbers, and I'm going to come and stay on your site. I'm going to bring my mates, my family, my this, that. I kind of almost felt redundant. I was like, oh, my work here is done. You know, everybody had done exactly what we hoped. They'd all bonded together. They'd formed firm friendships. They had shared hangovers. They were inspired by one another. And since then, all I've been doing is passing on contact details or, you know, to different people. And just, you know, we've had such lovely feedback. So the best thing was just seeing people in the flesh.
Especially after the years that we've had. And I would absolutely agree with you that, you know, that whole bonding experience, by the end of the event it was a different room of people than at the beginning of the event. And that's why having, I suppose, that smaller style of event allows everyone to speak to everybody. That's the thing, wasn't it? I think we were able to speak to everyone about their projects, individual projects. We knew each other by name. Everybody knew everybody by the end of it. And that's
it
obviously
was
because it's
supportive. I felt that the atmosphere became more and more supportive of people, of one another, so that on the last afternoon we had 2 new businesses pitching their business plans, so to speak, Astrid and Rachel. And it was a big deal for both of them and quite nerve-wracking. But I felt everyone was sort of like, yeah, go for it, what, really supporting them, and kind of the goodwill in the room was brilliant at that point. So yes, it was lovely to see everybody get to know each other and get on so well.
It's a great organized event. You curated a sequence of experiences that allowed that to happen, I think, and that's what I think was such a success.
I'll take credit for the harmonica playing host on the last evening. That was an added bonus. We had we went to a traditional restaurant, and at the end of the evening, our host there, who showed us how to make gingerbread, then started to give us a musical rendition, didn't he, Sarah?
Absolutely. Actually, you've reminded me, that's one thing I have not shared on my Instagram channel. So I'm going to now, for sure. So yeah, anyone listening, at inspired_camping, go and check it out and you'll know exactly what we're talking about. It was an amazing, especially when he started singing Elvis at one point, didn't he? That was amazing.
That's true. So I think for everybody, there is obviously an element in an event like this that it's got to be good fun, and we've got to be somewhere where people are interested to go and visit. There is a little bit of that there. You want to tempt people in by saying, "Oh, I'd love to go there. I'd love to do that." But that was an element of it. It wasn't completely the whole thing. We gave everybody a good sense of where they were and some lovely evenings out. But honest, Scub, we did do some work in between.
Absolutely. But my experience as someone who attended it, and yes, I did a session there as well, but as someone who attended it, I know that most of the benefit comes from the time in the corridors, the time by the coffee machine, the time having breakfast, the time in the pub in the evening or in the restaurant. That's when you have those really deep conversations and make those business connections that you wouldn't otherwise have.
Yeah.
So yes, I think that there is an importance of having some fun, but there's also that importance of having that downtime when everyone's actually getting together and really finding out about each other's businesses and how we can all work together. I think for me, that's the most beneficial time.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that's a major aspect of an event like this, definitely.
So in terms of looking at what someone is doing and making it as low impact as possible, and certainly their experiences as low impact. So you have so many contacts with lots of different businesses because of your role as a publisher of International Glamping Business Magazine. And I know that you see all kinds of amazing ideas, things that people are doing for their own glamping businesses, their eco resorts, and whatever else way they'd like to describe their business. So if a host has an idea when it comes to crafting a low impact experience, how can they sense check their ideas with others? How can they come together with in a kind of a network environment when there aren't events happening like yours? But how can people kind of sense check their ideas in a network situation?
Well, I think there's no wrong when it comes to trying to be more sustainable, and there's no, as I said before, some of the ways in which you can be more sustainable with your power, and which is something that obviously we're all very aware of at the moment, they're expensive to implement and they're beyond a lot of people's means. So I think that it's about doing what you can when you can. And as for sense checking, well, you're probably going to get some feedback anyway from your guests and your staff. If you're making people do things that they think are unnecessary, they'll probably let you know that at some point or other. I once went to stay on a site that was full of sort of little passive aggressive notes telling guests they should do this and they should do that and they should do the other to be more environmentally friendly. Now, that's a bit of a turn off for me. I don't want to be lectured when I'm on holiday. And also, I then discovered on closer questioning that the highly segregated recycling was actually all just thrown together at the end of the day because the council couldn't collect it all as separate items. So in a sense, and it was justified as, well, they should be doing this, the guests. And I think that this is where people maybe go wrong with it. In the same way as those notes that we see in hotels saying, leave your towel here or leave your towel there, or, if you want it changing or not changing, and then they ignore it anyway and do what they want to do. It's like, I think, come up with some ideas that that work for you, and that you can implement and your staff can implement, and that your guests will like, and then stick with them and be consistent about it. That's probably the best advice. So start with something like what you buy in, where you buy things like toilet roll, or what kind of cleaning liquids and things that you use around the site. So it might be a few shopping choices, for example, that you make. And Martha Fosbury, who writes brilliantly for us, she did a wonderful green cleaning products roundup, which you can catch on our back issues, for example. So that's something we can all do. Shopping is something we can do. And so things like that, and then work your way up to other bigger ticket items that might make a difference. And tell your guests if they want to hear about it. Tell them, but don't ram it down their throats what you're doing, because people are interested and they will want to know more. But just growing your own food, growing some food on site that you can pass on, or grow it for yourself, but also show people that are staying that that's what you're doing. Who doesn't like a look round a garden and see things growing? So I think there's lots of different ways. You can go up from that to the ridiculous. Like I'll give you an example of something fabulous, which is Sonu Shivdasani in the Maldives. Obviously, they're off grid. They can't easily take their waste off the islands, or they have to pay for it to be collected by boat. So they've set up a glass factory a glass blowing studio on the island, where they take all their empty bottles that the guests use and they recreate them into wonderful artworks and glasses and bottles and things for people to take away as souvenirs. So, there's one end of the spectrum. On the other end of the spectrum, I'd say, think about where you buy your loo rolls from. There's all sorts of things you can do. Just remove your single-use plastics, or just whatever. It's fine. There's no right or wrong.
I love that. And I think, as you said, it's more about inspiring people rather than lecturing people. Yes. And for sure, people always rebel against a lecture, but if they're inspired, then they'll do even more. Yeah. So what's for your next event? Obviously, it's a long way off, but you must be starting to plan it already.
You have to. I mean, almost immediately we knew that this one looked like it was going to be a success. Then the pressure is on because there are people that can't make the dates for this one that say, oh, but I'd love to come along next year. And then you're sort of like, right, I better start thinking about next year. So we've not gone too far away geographically from where we were this year. And we are basing ourselves in Croatia next year. So a bit more sea rather than lakes next year. And we pretty certain we'll be around the Dubrovnik area, and we will, so that we have an opportunity to nip across the border into Montenegro, where one of our delegates from this year's event is in the middle of building a very large resort, glamping experiential hospitality resort with zip wires and restaurants and God knows what there. So it won't be completed by the time we go, which is even better, even more exciting, because we will be able to go and wriggle around and see the construction in progress and see what's being done and how it's being done. So that's the plan for next year. So yes, Croatia and Montenegro.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I know that you'll come back on the podcast nearer the time and you'll share with everybody your plans and what you're going to do. And I'm definitely looking forward to that. So what's in your kind of radar, your vision for the next couple of weeks, bringing it into a kind of bit closer time frame?
Well, we're working towards the Glamping show in September. So that's the next thing, followed closely by the Glamping show US that will be in early October, just outside of Denver, Colorado. Which has grown massively as well. So we're looking forward towards that as well. It just sounds as though I get about all over the place, really. but yeah, we've got lots of exciting projects and lots of deadlines for the magazines as well. So look out for the next. We're working on the July issue. So that's
well, thank you so much for giving us your time today, Steph, because I know you're obviously really busy, but I know everyone would be really grateful to hear about everything that happened and everything about the network, and I look forward to hearing more for the next event.
Thank you so much. And just to say that everybody is welcome. It's not just an event for big fancy resorts. This is for everybody. Okay.
That's great. Thanks, Steph. And we'll speak to you soon. Take care.
I know.
Bye. So if you want to get involved in the next Eco Resort Network event, all you need to do is pop on over to ecoresort.network. You'll find out everything you need to know there. And if you want to see a little bit of behind the scenes and what happens at networks like this without actually attending, then go over to my Instagram account and have a little look at the stories, reels, and the posts that I share there. And that will give you everything you need to know to make you feel like you're taking part in some small way. The Instagram handle is, of course, inspired_camping. Thank you so much for joining me today. I look forward to you joining me again very, very soon. Take care.